Hello chickens, welcome to another episode of Christian X Witches, a series on my channel where we dive into dramatic testimonies, flimsy arguments and lashings of satanic panic.
Satanic black magic. Sick shit.
I sacrifice my sanity a little bit with this series so that you don't have to, by trawling through different testimonies, finding interesting things to talk about, and hopefully along the way I make it a little bit fun. So all you need to do is stir your cauldron, sip your tea, and cackle away from a safe distance. Let's find out why these witches converted, my darlings, and why they think that we should too. Just a disclaimer, I am going to be using clips where people are going to be talking about things like the fact that we are hellbound and what we do is demonic, etc. So if you have religious trauma that you're working through and you do not think this is going to be your flavour, please find something else to watch on my channel. Your mental health comes first, okay? And also just to say, I'm not criticising the entirety of Christianity in general, all of it, one big blanket statement. I'm just analysing and critiquing the clips that I'm going to be looking at today. Oh my gosh, okay, here we go. This is the 6th time we've done this, my darling, so let's see what we can find. Get ready for the room to go dark. Not because there are demons, but because your eyes are about to probably roll very, very hard into the back of your skull if my experience of doing this is anything to go by. So let's get into it.
Did you know when someone's practicing witchcraft, you can actually see it in their body? You can see it in their flesh. You can see it in their face. You can see when someone is demonized, when they are possessed, when they are doing witchcraft. Like in general, you can see how over time their body will shift. The way they look will shift. Like even Ariana Grande, for example, she was on a podcast recently and she proclaimed that she was a witch and that she followed astrology. And you can see how over the course of like 3 years or so, you can see her face. You can see it in her face. You can see that she's been practicing. You can see it in most of the celebrities. You can see it.
No. Wait a minute. You can't use Ariana Grande to make this point. You can't use her as an example because she is changing herself physically pretty extremely, like all the time, right? There's been countless articles and videos put out about the change in her appearance. In fact, I've seen her on the internet addressing it herself, saying that she had tons of filler put in her cheeks and her lips and she changed her appearance out of insecurity, and now she's changing her appearance again because she's coming to accept herself. I mean, frankly, she was accused of blackfishing for a long time because she was blatantly darkening her skin very unnaturally, and with the lip filler it was like she was trying to make herself look racially ambiguous, and then she dropped a load of weight, became very unusually pale, and frankly she now looks like she's a different kind of racially ambiguous. So I would strongly argue that that is not the witch's wand that's doing all of that. It is the surgeon's knife. So she's just a really bad example, which is totally unfair. Yeah, she's known for physically changing. This logic is dodgier than a QAnon conspiracy, but I'm gonna let this individual carry on and we'll see where this is going, guys.
And how a lot of people start looking like they're literally decaying, like they're literally dying, and they're only the age of like 35.
Oh my God, I'm actually realizing that I do feel like I'm decaying. I feel like I'm melting in the light of the one true God.
I'm melting! Oh God, a good little girl like you could destroy my beautiful wickedness.
Honestly, this is so bloody silly. Everybody is decaying, sweetheart. It's called the long march towards death. Oh dear.
And a lot of times when you meet Christian, like elders, older people who are Christian, who are like 60 and 70, like they're still like breathing and they're still living life to the fulfillment, right? They're living in a good way. They look clean. They look healthy. They look like they're actually obeying the Lord, right?
I actually cannot stop thinking about this bit of footage right now. Okay, sorry, in all seriousness, I'm not really one to make any kind of connection at all between somebody's moral goodness and their physical appearance, because I just think that is quite vapid and emotionally unintelligent, to be honest with you. I let go of that crap a long time ago, and I think anybody on a spiritual path really should do. There is no correlation between what a person looks like physically and who they are in their soul. Witches can look all kinds of ways, and people who declare themselves Christian can look all kinds of ways. And isn't it actually pointedly un-Christian to be so focused on a person's physical appearance? Isn't that pointedly actually unspiritual? Never mind unchristian. But specifically, is it not unchristian? Like, aren't there parts in the Bible where Jesus intentionally interacts with people that have leprosy and heals them and spends time with them? at a time when those books were written, where it would have been considered impure and sinful and scary to have leprosy. Those people would have been rejected. They would have been the outcasts of society. And Jesus made an intentional point of walking amongst them to demonstrate that they should not be marginalized or inherently looked down on because of the way they look or what they're going through. Like, am I crazy, or is that in the Bible? Pretty sure it is in the Bible. Why don't people who are so obsessed with the Bible actually interpret the Bible in ways that will make them a more decent human being in a lot of cases? I don't understand. It's so wild because there is so much goodness in the Bible and there is so much to take from. And I feel like that's being so overlooked with this particular video. I'm like, honestly, I'm shocked every time by these clips. There's always something that makes me go, huh? I feel like so much of the stuff that I see when I'm doing this series is stuff that would make Jesus just be like, bro, no. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Talk about, Father, forgive them for they know not what they do. Am I right? Am I right? Am I right?
And when we're disobedient, when we're doing things that are wicked, you can see the sin in our face. You can see the sin in our behaviors. You can see the struggle in our flesh. It's very apparent on the face. God exposes people through their face, through their bodies, through their health, through the things they're experiencing. They expose the sin that they have in secret. They expose the heart. It's really interesting looking at celebrities and seeing how, they do witchcraft and rituals on their music and all this stuff on their movies, on them getting famous, on all these different things, right? You can see it through their body. You can see it through their face. You can see it through the prolongingness of getting older. They want to label it that. People want to claim that. But you shouldn't be looking like you're decaying and dead within 3 years. And it's been pretty obvious in Ariana Grande, like as me using her as an example. You can literally see the differences just in the way her face looks, just the way her skin looks, just the way she's standing firm or saying something. You can literally see it in her demeanor. You can see spirits operating in her life from the witchcraft that she does.
Oh my God, again with the Ariana Grande. Can we please just set that crappy example aside for a moment? Please, just let's stop with it. But one thing that I will say is that in previous episodes of this series, I have definitely noticed that there are a lot of Christian ex-witches who are focused on physical appearance in this kind of material, where they're like giving instructions or giving testimonies. Like, there's lots of ex-witches that say things like, I look so much better now, I dress better, I'm glowing now that I'm Christian and I've left the craft behind. And honestly, like, that's really lovely for them on a personal level if that's something that they felt they wanted to achieve so much. But when you start to think of these signs of the physical glow-ups as collective indicators of whether someone is good or whether they're evil, aka whether they're a witch, that's just ridiculously problematic, and it's so prejudiced. Like, it reveals a bias towards a certain phenotype, a certain style of dress, right? Like, it shows that you reject and you judge people who don't measure up. Again, unchristian. And why are we even focused on that? This mindset is just really not very Jesus coded. Some people really need to crack the Bible again and read it, but deep it. I can't believe I just said that. I sound like a fucking preacher right now, but I genuinely, seriously, people have skin conditions. People have hereditary hair loss. People can look tired and gaunt when they're dealing with stress, when they're dealing with bereavement. Like, who the fuck is this person to sit around and make decisions about who's morally upstanding based on outdated, boring, beige, Eurocentric beauty standards, or any fucking beauty standards? It boggles my fucking mind. Like, beauty means nothing when we're talking about matters of the soul. Nothing. I'm glad that I'm seeing a video like this, and I'm glad that it's going into this particular series, because I think that there is a great seriousness. Like, I'm kind of giggling and I kind of think this is ridiculous, but there's also a really great seriousness when we look at how vapid this really is, how harsh and judgmental it is, how far from Christ some of these people have genuinely strayed when this is the kind of thing that they think it's prevalent to make a video on. And I just see pretty much the total opposite in the vast majority of the witchcraft community. It's not about looks. And we often talk about how it shouldn't be about what you own, and it shouldn't be about how you look, and it shouldn't be about fulfilling the witchy stereotype. It's not about that. It's about the work. It's about the devotion. It's about the commitment to your practice. It's not about all of those vapid, silly, shallow things. And I'm not saying that there aren't Christians who also agree with that and who are that way in their own practice. But the kinds of videos that I analyze where people are, demonizing anyone that's not Christian and insinuating that people who don't look attractive by some kind of standard are probably witches or they're probably possessed by demons. When I'm analysing that material, there is a lot of vapid shit like that in there. And it is so depressing and it is so disheartening and it is so revealing. It is something that gives us valuable data on why this style of Christianity is gross. It's gross. It's low value. It's low value. It's the junk food of spirituality. If you want to connect with the spirit of Jesus Christ, if you want to feel that energy, please don't do it like this. Please choose any other way but this. Please, I beg of you.
And I was the same. Before Christ, I looked sick all the time. I looked decayed. Like, I looked disgusting. And I could never do anything to make myself feel better about how I looked. So I'd wear a lot of makeup. I'd do all these different things. Like, I would try, but I would always look just defiled. I would always look sick. And that's what it does to you. It's supposed to do that. Doesn't matter what intentions you have for your spell work. Doesn't matter the intentions you have for the things that you're doing. If it's against God and it's actively sitting against him, you're going to see it in your body. You're going to see it in your face. You're going to see it in your behaviors. You're going to see it in your heart posture. And until you repent for those things and turn from those things, it's not going to change. It will probably get worse.
Well, there you go, guys. There you have it. If your highest spiritual aim is to be a whole snack, then I guess you better walk with the Lord, right? Like, the Lord will give you the physical glow up you've been looking for. Witchcraft is making you look haggard and thou shalt have negative riz. So if you want to up your game and you want that physical glow up, follow Jesus, I guess. I thought it was about a lot more than that, but apparently not. Apparently I learn something new every day, and apparently it's about looking your best. That's what Christianity comes down to. This is utterly ludicrous. And again, so sad, so vapid. I hate the thought that people would come across this kind of material, people that may have low self-esteem, people that may be looking for a place that they fit in spiritually, and they have issues with their looks or they've been bullied for their looks, and they come across something like this. That is not Jesus-like. I'm sorry. That is not Jesus coded. Jesus would not be impressed. Jesus would be on TikTok like, what the literal shitting fuck? I'm going back to bed. I can't believe this is how it's turned out. After everything I went through, this is what's become of the practice. This is ludicrous. And Mother Mary's going back to bed too. She's had enough. She's more than had enough if this is the material that people are claiming to be important dialogue, essential discourse on how to be Christian or how to figure out who is Christian. It's just sad. It is really just sad. Wow. Like, wow.
They recreated that movie, The Craft, in 2020.
Really?
They recreated the movie and they invited real witches on the set, and they had the witches, before they would do a scene, to cast spells and then to invite the actresses to come into this circle with them while they were releasing spell words over the viewers and over the scene.
Oh, I hate to break it to you girls. I really hate to break it to you, but there were real witches on the set of the original 1996 Craft movie too. They actually hired a whole ass genuine American Wiccan priestess to be their advisor for the original movie. And of course, Feruza Balk, who played Nancy, is a witch, and Rachel True, who plays Rochelle, is a witch as well. I have a whole video about the original Craft movie, guys. If you haven't seen it, go over there and watch it after this. I would be interested to see where the actresses for the remake were actually doing this witchcraft with the real witches, because that sounds awesome. Like, I mean, do we have any footage of this? Is it in a director's cut, or like, is it a behind the scenes thing? I will definitely have a look for the article that they're talking about where it describes the actresses being excited about doing witchcraft on set. But yeah, I think that's cool. I think that's legit. Little bit of method acting for them, they're playing witches in a movie. So why not partake in some magical practice, right? If they're all willing, then I don't see why not. I think that's really great practical experience for them to respect what it is they're doing with the movie and to get into the part. I had no interest in seeing the remake, but it doesn't mean that I don't find this to be quite cool and pretty much what should be happening if you're making a movie about any kind of spiritual faith. It seems appropriate that you would have ambassadors from that faith on the set, wouldn't you think? Honestly, if the tables were turned and this was a Christian movie that they were talking about, these two would be salivating. These two women would probably be salivating, talking about how amazing it is that the actresses in the movie were all doing Bible study together on set, or like speaking tongues or whatever. Such double standards, it really is. It's a movie about witchcraft, and real witches visited the set. I would say that that is the dictionary definition of us staying in our lane. Don't poke your Christian noses into our vibey behind the scenes magic making, okay? It sounds like it popped the fuck off, and I'm very happy for everybody involved. It's really funny how concerned these two are about something that is just so par for the course.
They broadcast it and wrote articles like, isn't this amazing? We're getting real and raw with these real witches. And people are playing it in their home, and it's entertainment. And, you know, Charlene, I always say the first part of entertainment is enter. So be careful what's entering your home.
Wow, gosh, I'm going to write that down. Does it mean anything?
The first part of entertainment is enter. That's deep. Oh, wow. There's so much to unpack here, guys. So much to unpack. We have talked in previous episodes of this series about how vulnerable these particular types of Christians believe themselves to be, right? They feel like they're vulnerable to attacks by witches, they're vulnerable to being manipulated by witches, and they feel particularly vulnerable when it comes to witchcraft in the media. For some reason, that makes them feel incredible trepidation. They feel incredibly vulnerable to the idea that witches would be featured in film or anything of that nature, that they would be talked about on TV, or that there would be articles written about them. When witchcraft comes through the scope of media, it's almost like they really directly feel that they're going to be super affected. I know that obviously they do not want promotion of witchcraft to spread, right? They don't want their kids getting hold of information about witchcraft. They don't want anybody who might be vulnerable to becoming a witch to become one. So the idea that witchcraft would be featured in media is seen as dangerous. But I also think that there's something else that they definitely think is happening, and I think that's obvious. Like, whether it's staged witchcraft for a movie or whether it's information through the media about real witchcraft, it does seem to upset them because they feel like we're going to influence them through the screen. And I think they imagine, well, I know that they imagine that that is our motive as witches, that we want foot soldiers for Satan, that we want them to turn from their religion, and that that is actually our aim. That is what we would like to do, right? The problem with these kinds of Christians is that they only see witchcraft in relation to themselves as Christians. This is such the big problem. They don't see witchcraft as an independent thing that actually doesn't really bother itself much with the Christian world, right? Like, in their mindset, and it's an extreme mindset, the way they think of it is that it's a battle, right? There's Christians on one side and there's witches on the other side, and we are opposed to each other and we're in this battle with each other. They can't imagine a reality where witches just like don't fucking think that much about Christians. We don't think at all about Christians when we're doing spells or when we're going about our business, like, you know, talking to our gods or making devotions or doing divination. Like, it's just so rare. And you know, guys, you know, I speak to many, many witches, right? I'm a witchcraft mentor. I've done sessions with witches and I've taught workshops for witches for years. I've written 2 books about the craft. Don't buy them. We're boycotting. Find more information below. But yeah, like, I've spoken to so many witches. It is highly, highly rare that you're ever going to meet a witch whose aim is to take down Christianity. We're not thinking about it. Our aims, quite simply, don't include these Christians at all. Witchcraft is a separate thing, okay? Obviously, we're aware of the history. Obviously, we're aware of that. But like, we just want to mind our business and we just want to do our shit. But the problem is that Christians like this can only think about witchcraft in relation to their religion. They cannot think of it as anything other than the opposition to their religion, their enemy, right? Whereas this is a one-sided fight. On the whole, we are happy that people follow a God that they love. Like, that's great, as long as they're not doing harm, which a lot of these kinds of Christians are. And that is a problem for us on a political and ethical level. But in terms of the religion itself, we have no fucking problem with what anyone does. We're not trying to convert anybody through the TV or through the cinema screen. We do not see their God as the enemy in general, right? We're not trying to sabotage anyone's faith. We just want to be left the fuck alone. We just want to sling cards cards, mix potions, talk to trees, do whatever the fuck it is we're doing, and be left alone. Like, it's so wild to me that they cannot get this through their head, and they don't want to. I think Christians like this don't want to get that through their heads because it ruins their narrative. They're sort of like, we're in a battle and we're fighting for God, and like it's got to be that hyped up, steroided, amplified, you know, like it's almost drug induced. It's that feeling of like, yeah, there's something mighty about me because I refuse to bow to Satan and I refuse to let these people force me to work with Satan. Bitch, no one's trying to force you to. Where is this phantasm that you've created in your head of what a modern day witch is? What the fuck? No one's doing that. Calm down. Like, we just don't care what you do. The only thing we care about is when it affects us, okay? This is the thing, right? Let me just get into this for a second because I really need to get this out of me. Until Christians like this are willing to see witches as we are, instead of as some kind of fucking phantasm that's rooted in nonsense and victimhood and paranoia, we're not going to get anywhere. Witches don't want to fight these Christians, okay? But because these Christians think witches want to fight them, they try to restrict the rights that witches have, like freedom of religion and shit like that, right? The freedom to have businesses, all of that stuff, the freedom to gather and have rituals, right? When that happens, yes, witches will fight back against that kind of Christian, but it's not because we're obsessed with them and we want to steal their souls. It's because they're obsessed with us, they're trying to steal our freedom and they're stepping on our fucking toes. And yes, when that happens, we will react. It is the Christian of this ilk that acts, and it is just us reacting. Other than that, we couldn't give a fuck. We just want to be left alone. Sorry, I had to get that out. It just drives me so wild because when I watch videos like this, I so often just think there wouldn't be a problem if you would just try to think of witchcraft as a separate thing and not just something that gives you this sense of steroided up, hyper amplified, like aggressive purpose in your Christianity. Like, you want to feel like a warrior for God, and the idea that witches are only out to get you and to corrupt you and to force you to worship Satan makes you feel hyped up and like you're in some kind of battle, some kind of sacred spiritual battle. Fuck off. You're not in a battle. No one's battling with you. Calm down. You know, it's like they just love a bit of it. They love all that Salem shite. It's unifying for them. It's exciting for them. It makes them feel tough. It makes them feel mighty. It makes them feel like they're actually doing something for God, when what I think they could really be doing for their God is being beautiful to each other, making sure everybody has fundamental rights, and making sure that they are thinking about how they are being representatives for their God on this earth. But instead, it's like, in their mind, they are so oppositional. They need something to oppose, right? And I know it comes from Puritanism and all that shit. I get the history of it, but it just drives me crazy that in 2025, we're still seeing this kind of crap happening, where instead of thinking about how they want to be ambassadors for their religion in a positive way, they are thinking about like, who are we fighting and where's the fight and how does that make us into like, you know, the good little lambs of God. We don't give a fuck what you do. It's fine. Stay in your church. Do your thing, have at it. Just don't come and try and make us believe what you believe, and don't try and shut down our businesses, shut down our public gatherings or any of that stuff. Like, if you touch freedom of religion, yeah, we have a problem, but it's not because we're obsessed with you, it's because you're obsessed with us, right? Like, what do you expect us to do? Just kowtow and lie down and say, yeah, sure, okay, we won't have that ritual, we won't have witchy businesses, we won't refuse to be like you, we'll go in line. We'll do what you want. No way. Fuck you.
So as a witch, when I celebrated Halloween is a high holy day for Satanists and witches alike. And so I did not celebrate Halloween thinking it was evil. We didn't do sacrifices. We didn't hurt animals. And it seemed all in good fun. It was a day to celebrate the dead and to party. And it seemed perfectly good and fun. It wasn't until after I got into a saving relationship with Jesus Christ that I really started to realize how evil Halloween is. In the Bible, God speaks very clearly about not being involved in paganism, witchcraft, mediums, sacrificing children, and things of that nature. But what many people don't know is that Halloween is a high holy day for Satanists and witches and other occult members who actually hurt people and animals. They do things, it's not just on Halloween. Anton LaVey says that Halloween is the third most important holiday on their calendar. He, if you don't know, was the founder of the Church of Satan. He is now deceased. The Church of Satan is not deceased, though. It is alive and active.
When are these research avoidant Christians going to get this through their skulls? LaVeyan Satanism is an atheist philosophy. It's an... They're not going to be busying themselves with doing the work of Satan, because being in league with Satan to them would be like as silly as being in league with God, okay? Because to them, that would just be equally stupid. They are seeing Satan as a metaphor. I know this is really hard for some of these Christians to understand, because they wouldn't understand allegory and metaphor if both of them walked through the saloon doors right now and offered them a ride on a rainbow fucking unicorn. Everything is so literal for these people. Like, LaVeyan Satanism is not like Luciferianism, okay? I haven't done a mad amount of big reading in all of this. I'm not going to go into a huge fucking tangent about it, but like, look it up. Please look it up. It's killing me inside the amount of people that mention LaVey without any baseline understanding of what he was about, the book that he wrote, or any of that shit. It's driving me crazy. It's a metaphor, baby. Come with us on this. Oh, my life.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! You're stuck in a metaphor! I'm not. It's a metaphor!
There's just like an intense amount of misinformation, an intense amount of things that are said in this very like throwaway kind of style by people like this who think they've got any business going on the internet and teaching things that they do not know the first thing about, okay? Like, it's really difficult. It's like everything is taken so literally, everything is taken at face value, and that information is passed along like a fucked up game of telephone, and everybody thinks they know what they're saying and nobody knows what they're saying. And that's why, or part of the reason why I started this bloody series in the first place. So we could at least get some replies going. We could at least like be able to state our case and say, this isn't right, that isn't right, that's bullshit, that's baloney, okay? Like, let's just get this straight. LaVeyan Satanism is atheistic, okay? Okay, all right, good. Close the book on that.
Satanists actually love the fact that Christians celebrate Halloween, because Halloween opens you up to your dark side. Now, I know a lot of Christians say that they don't celebrate the evil of Halloween, but the thing is that you really can't get away from the evil of Halloween. It is a day dedicated to Satan, evil, and death. So as I was saying, witches see Halloween not as evil, but as, celebration of the dead and partying. But Satanists and other occultists see it as a day, yes, of the dead and partying, but to them, that means human sacrifices, animal sacrifices, ritual abuse such as beatings, and also sexual abuse.
Okay, so she's now saying that witches just think Halloween is a scary party and they don't see it as evil inherently. But Satanists and other occultists are out here murdering children every Halloween, beating people, heinously breaking the law in all kinds of foul ways, right? This sounds like it should be a massive social problem that is astoundingly reported in local press, national press, international press, and of course on social media, as we hear from people year on year who have been beaten up or who are looking for their missing loved ones that have been kidnapped and sacrificed to Satan. So where's the proof? Where's the outcry? I want the proof. I want the proof. I want the buttery biscuit proof.
I like the bass. I like the buttery biscuit bass.
I think this kind of stuff only works on the super, super vulnerable and the super open to anything and super like hardline conspiratorial, because you don't just get to make things up and then expect people with half a brain in their head to go along with it. You can become a novelist or a screenwriter to do that. You can create beautiful, epic, swirling works of very, very fictional fiction, okay? You can have your little stories about the Halloween sacrifices and the people being beaten up every year and the abuse being statistically rife at this time of year. And you can present those stories as fictional. They go in the fiction section. If there's no proof, I've got no time for it. The way that they describe Halloween is a little bit like, for anyone that's seen the classic 90s movie, The Crow, one of my all-time favourite 90s movies, they describe it like Devil's Night. Do you know what I mean? Devil's Night, the night before Halloween, when all the shit kicks off and the gangs just like take control of the city. Or like that movie The Purge or something. Like the way they're describing it is like, there's this abuse and there's beatings and there's murders, but it's all very hush-hush, and it's these other occultists that like do this stuff, and it's like, Bitch, people have friends, they have jobs, they have people in their neighborhood that know them. If they were going missing or they were being beaten to a pulp or their kids were being sacrificed, wouldn't we be having a bloody discussion as a society about shutting Halloween down because shit's getting fucked up? Where's that discussion? Where's the proof? They talk about this every year, the beatings, the sacrifice. Like, stop. Bring the receipts to me. Fetch the receipts to me now.
So it is very real that babies are being murdered, animals are being murdered, and other people, children and adults alike, are being abused. It's the real deal.
Babies are being murdered, animals are being murdered, and people are being abused. I mean, that sounds like a fucking Tuesday on this planet, to be completely honest with you. Sorry, I know these videos are normally really comical, but I have to say, that is a Tuesday on this planet. Do you think this person advocates for the ridiculously untold amounts of animals that are kicked around in factory farms, that are kept crushed together with no light, that are stun gunned through the head to provide food for her table? Do you think that she's done anything about the children that are being murdered day after day after day in Gaza and elsewhere on the planet? Is she volunteering at her local animal centre? Is she donating to any situation where children are actually being murdered? No? No? Why should I be encouraged to swallow these horror stories and fairy tales about Halloween from people who don't prioritise actual animal cruelty or actual, murder of babies or any of these things that are actually going on? I at least want to see the proof that a Christian that is saying this kind of thing cares about it when it actually happens in a documented fucking way that we know about, okay? That we actually can do something about instead of chasing our tails again with these phantasms. I honestly never want to hear from another Christian again who invokes the image of babies being murdered at Halloween if they're not speaking up on Gaza. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it out of their mouth. Like, it is so over for those bitches. People are spinning these fucking tales about babies being murdered on Halloween when I'm watching real babies being murdered on social media every day, right now, by a regime that is overwhelmingly supported by evangelical Christians. That is the fucking tea. That is the teapot. That is the entire tea shop. Fuck this. These people would really have us worrying about fantasy abuse and fantasy horror, while real abuse and real horror is ongoing all the time, and they don't address those things. I do not see them addressing those things. I don't trust that, and I don't think Christ would trust that either.
And there are many people out there right now who, they come to this time of the year and it's so hard for them. Everywhere you go, just in my neighborhood stores, Halloween is everywhere. The evil is prevalent. The decorations I see, they are spiders, giant spiders, vampires, witches, ghosts, severed heads, human body parts, headstones, and things of that nature. I don't really see how you can find innocence in those decorations. I understand that you could dress up in costumes that you consider non-evil, such as princesses and superheroes and your favorite cartoon characters. But the fact is that I really want you to think about is that you can't separate yourself from the evil that Halloween is. To its very origins, Halloween is evil. If you trace Halloween all the way back to the ancient times, before Catholicism even, it has deep roots, and it is all based on celebrating other gods and goddesses, which, by the way, are demons in disguise, and sacrificing and abusing humans and animals. Now, fast forward to current day, you don't see, or it's not widely talked about, those horrifying things. Satan has made it very easy to ignore those things. And as a matter of fact, we are completely desensitized to evil, the devil, and his demons.
First of all, I really, really love the way she says, like, oh, the roots come from before Catholicism even. Like, before Catholicism, like, shock horror, core blimey, that was such a long time ago. Relatively recent on the human timeline, babe. Relatively recent. Catholicism itself is evidently massively influenced by the paganism it sought to overthrow. And it's been through many changes itself through time. Like, things have not stayed the same. Catholicism came from somewhere. It came out of a more unified Orthodox tradition, which it broke away from at a certain point, and then it became its own thing. And then evangelical Protestantism sprouted out of Catholicism. So things are inspired by other things. I don't know what you want me to say. Like, over the course of history, things are inspired by other things. Just because there are roots and there are inspirations and there are threads that you can identify through history that explain why we do the things we do today, doesn't mean we do them exactly as they did them then. Things change. Things update. I don't advocate the sacrificing of cattle at Samhain just because there's evidence that my Celtic ancestors did that, right? Like, I don't suggest that we tie up a willing victim and like slit his throat and do all this ritual shit to him and fling him into a bog so that the village can have a good harvest the next year to appease the gods or whatever, just because there's evidence that my Celtic ancestors did that. Like, the logic is not logicking. Things move on. Things have origins and then they move on. Tell me if this is petty, because maybe I'm being really, really petty, but I feel like whenever a Christian of this ilk comes onto the internet and they're like, the origins of Samhain, there was animal sacrifice, there was human sacrifice, whatever, I always feel like that springs from a place of them wanting to go back to how things were when they were allowed to like stone adulterers to death or whatever, or like any of that mad shit that used to happen back in the day. Because they want to go back to those origins, they think we are going back to pagan origins. Am I reaching? Is that a massive reach? Maybe I'm reaching, but I just feel like it's very interesting that they can't seem to get into their heads that like things have origins, but we don't do things in a completely reconstructionist manner. And something about it makes me think that it's because evangelical Christians want to go back to doing things in a reconstructionist manner to some extent or another. They're very linked in with things like racism and segregation ideas and trad wife bullshit and the ideas of like very, very strict gender roles and no children outside of marriage. They're very sexually repressed and all of this stuff. So they blatantly want to go back. They want to get in the time machine. So they think we want to get in the fucking time machine. We don't want to get in the time machine with you.
I'd rather have cat AIDS, thank you.
Fuck that. We actually can take from the inspiration and the nuance and the beauty of having, you know, this knowledge of history without being like, hey guys, let's slit the throats of some cattle and like sacrifice a king to the gods. We don't need to do that shit anymore, but we can know that it occurred and we can find it all very interesting, darling. Very interesting. Doesn't mean we want to go back to that now. Like, it's just wild to me how literal and how reductive and how simplistic some of these views are.
But the spiritual realm is very real, and you are inviting evil into your life by participating in Halloween, because God has clearly stated to us that we are to have no part of it. So when we have a part of it, we are signaling in the spiritual realm, which is all around us, unseen, that we're open. It's an open portal or gateway.
It's always fascinating to me that some people are so arrogant as to believe that they have the monopoly on spiritual truth, you know? Like, they are the ones that get to decide what is or is not a portal to evil or a gateway to damnation. Like, it's only them and them alone, right? Even though their religious ideas are relatively recent, and there's so much other shit that you can point to that is just so much older and has so much more rich culture and so many more texts behind it and everything. They and only they get to tell every fucker else what's correct about the unseen that is all around us, as she puts it. So yeah, it's wild. It really is wild. It does really make me sick. I'll be honest with you. It does make me sick.
I have been told that witches curse the Halloween candy, and I can only imagine what other curses are going on to Halloween costumes and whatnot. At this time of year, covens are very active, trying to place curses on different churches and different individuals, especially individuals like myself who would speak out against Halloween.
Yes, this woman is absolutely on our list of people to curse. For the crime of making this very video that I'm watching right now, we're going to temporarily pause our cursing of the Halloween candy, which is definitely something that we do. And instead, we're going to focus all of our attention on cursing you. That's the plan. There's nothing else. We're not busy on Samhain or anything. It's not like the most important time of year for us. We've definitely got plenty of time to do this, right? Like, no. The only thing that's going to happen to you for speaking out against witchcraft is that you might end up in a video such as this. All right, like for talking absolute twaddle. You're going to have to be taken to task for that. And that's exactly what I'm doing right now. Other than that, you're not taking up space in a witch's head at Samhain. Believe me, there's too many things we're trying to cram in that are already dropping out already. Like, we are trying really, really hard to make sure that we balance a lot of different things at Samhain and get everything done that we want to get done, because it's such a sacred time. Like, you're not on the radar. I'm so sorry to have to say.
It's very serious. I take Halloween very seriously. It grieves me to the core, to my bones, which with immense sadness that Christians participate in Halloween. It's not something for Christians. We are called to be the light of the world.
I don't think you need to be the light of the world. I don't think that that is what is required. I do think that you need to lighten up. I do think that that is what needs to happen. And that's something with videos that I've looked at in this series that really sort of like does a number on me a little bit as I'm watching through. I'm just thinking so many of these people need to have a giggle. Just have yourself a little giggle. I know it's scary, but it can indeed be done. You can have yourself a little giggle. It's all right. It's going to be fine.
There's no such thing as a good witch. Not a green witch, a white witch. It don't matter what color you put on it. Witchcraft is not okay. Jesus is the only way.
Wow, these types are so brainwashed, honestly. What do they want? That's what concerns me when they make videos like this. Like, do they just want to keep away from witches and encourage other Christians to do the same, which is like prejudice and awful enough? Or do they want a reality where witches can't do business out in the open, or can't roam freely, or can't exist comfortably in society, or can't breathe oxygen? Like, you know, maybe you think I'm being hyperbolic, but I don't feel that much different when I hear this as I do sometimes when I hear people saying like there are no good Muslims, there are no good women, there are no good trans people. It is an extreme thing to fucking say. It is an extreme thing to say. You're literally writing off an entire class of people. We know that there is a lot of clout with evangelical Christianity. There's a lot of clout when it comes to lawmaking. There's a lot of clout when it comes to policy on the Senate floor. So it's not something that we should just take lightly and throw away. And this is not a video I can laugh at all, I don't think. I think it really taps me into like, okay, where are we going with this though? Whenever somebody talks about an entire group of people as just fundamentally not being good, it does make one wonder what they would be prepared to do to back those words up, right? And I do think it's very chilling rhetoric. I really do. And I think that's another reason why it's important to make a series like this. Like, yeah, we have a little bit of fun along the way for sure. And I definitely do have a giggle, but fuck me, like when it comes down to it, videos like this do have a very chilling vibe to them, you know, without any doubt. And I'd be really interested to know in the comments, like any and all things that you want to say about what's come up in this video, but particularly about things like this, where it's like, what are you saying? You know, it's a very short video. You weren't specific about what you think about what should be done about this thing that you think, but like, what do you think should be done? Because I think I will know the nature of your soul and the content of your character by the answer that you give to that question.
Jesus Christ saved me out of the occult. I was a psychic medium. Here are the top 5 things I learned immediately about what I had been doing. Number 1, I was communicating with demons, not deceased people, not spirit guides, not angels. No psychic is. Okay, I see that this individual doesn't really care to elaborate. It's the same old shite, isn't it? No theological depth whatsoever here, no actual arguments, just fear-mongering, straight up, just sound bites. Somebody repeating what they've heard some kind of Christfluencer repeating, and they got it from some kind of preacher who repeated it, and then, like I said, game of telephone, and it just gets repeated again. At least witchcraft is interesting. At least witchcraft is intellectual. At least witchcraft is conversational. At least it's got a bit of fucking colour, you know? Even if I'm wrong, and I'm truly going to the fiery place, which I doubt with every cell in my body, but even if I'm wrong, and I'm going to the fiery place, guys, at least I had a fucking good time while I was here, because this shit is drab. This shit is just grey. Various shades of grey slapped onto some grey with maybe a bit of beige. Number 2, the sage I was burning because I was taught that would protect me and clear out my space actually is better used in food than to ward off demons, because demons don't care about sage.
Let's leave that there.
Fuck me, this is like a clown running across a minefield.
Oh, sweetie, smoke cleansing is not just about the smoke. This is something that I see come up where it's like, the smoke doesn't work, you know, like none of those things work. It's about the intention. It's about the energy. It's about the focus. It's about the magic. If you don't have that, then yeah, you're just fucking around with sound or smoke or cards or little dolls and things you do with the little dolls, like all of that without the intention and without the actual work and the energy. Sure, it means nothing. Like, yeah, if you're not bringing that energy to the table, then your sage is better off on your table as a garnish for your dinner. Yes, absolutely. Like, these people truly thought they were just going to grab the props and grab the accessories, and that things were going to happen for them. And it's just ludicrous. Like, witchcraft is not passive, it's active. It is an active spiritual path. You are the magic. The ingredients and the tools are merely neutral objects if you don't work the intention into them. So yes, for this person, it was just smoke that was not going to do anything to assist them with anything. I've honestly seen so many videos like this where someone is like, they're just cards, it's just smoke, they're just chimes, it's just, like, there's nothing to it, there's nothing in it. And it's like, yeah, because you're only listing the tools. You're only listing literally the physical tools. What, you thought you were going to get a cauldron and, like, light a candle in the cauldron or put some water in the cauldron and put something in it, and that was going to be it? Bitch, you have to bring yourself to it. It's not just objects and things that you do that you read in books. It's you, it's your intention. Just because you didn't do that doesn't mean you get to say witchcraft is bullshit. You weren't doing it right, my darling. You weren't doing it right, honeybee. It's okay, but just own it.
Number 3, this started for me when I was a child, and I thought that I was gifted by God with this as a child because I wasn't looking for it, but I found out because it's demonic. I was just oppressed, just like my other contemporary any psychic medium who's having information when they're a child. Oppression.
I thought she said depressed the first time, actually, but the second time I clearly heard oppressed, and the subtitle says oppressed, so I can see that that is what she's saying. I'm assuming that she means that as a child she was oppressed by demons, like they had some kind of special interest in her and they tormented her for some reason. I would have been interested to know her theory on why that might be and what the discourse about that kind of thing is in religious circles, right? About the idea that when you're a child, demons might come close to you or try to interact with you. I would like to know what is said about that in her religious paradigm, because I do know that there are many Christian circles where early interest in Christ is very encouraged. And I've seen there's lots of kids on the internet that sort of like very early on are like, basically what they're doing is they're aping the adults around them, right? Have you seen that kid that does preaching on stage, that little kid? And his dad is a preacher. And so he's actually a really good actor because he's just doing an imitation of his father. He's got a little, is it a pulpit? Is it like what is it called? A plinth, whatever. And he's sort of there with his Bible and his microphone. It's quite ludicrous, but it's also quite ridiculous. Let's see it. Let's see him in action.
But feeling the Holy Ghost is. That means you're speaking in tongues. He wants the money, what you give him. The red hot. And his name is Jesus. There's only one God. And then he's going to praise out his tears and just worship God. And then he's going to worship God. But the Lord is going to do it. That means God has to do it. And then Jesus has to do it. And then God is going to do it. And then Jesus. Whoa! I love to preach something tonight.
I know that kind of stuff is mightily encouraged, right? I've seen that documentary about Jesus Camp. There is a lot of admiration and interest in the kids who very early on seem to have some kind of natural aptitude for preaching the word of God. And I think there can be a lot of pressure in that. And I think it also might give other kids the sense that they are not allowed to go to adults in their life and say that something different is happening for them, that they're feeling scared, that they're waking up in the night having nightmares or whatever it might be. Because of the paradigm that you grow up in, as a child, you might be feeling scared by things you're experiencing. Something might go bump in the night. This is normal for some children that they get anxious, etc. But they wouldn't feel safe to go to a trusted adult in that situation because they would be scared of being judged or rejected or whatever it is, I think. So I think if you get into your teenage years and you're worried about demonic activity and you don't want to say anything, it's probably because you don't want to be sent off to a place where you would be rehabilitated or given an exorcism or any of those things. Like, I've worked with enough people that were raised in seriously religious and sometimes very high control religious environments. I've worked with enough people like that to know that that's the kind of shit you would be worried about. So if you had mental health problems, for example, or you were just going through things that you didn't understand, you wouldn't say anything because none of the adults in your life really could be trusted. because everything is put into that paradigm of it's either godly or it's demonic. It's either great and high vibe and pure and godly, or it's you're demonic, you're being possessed by demons, there's something evil about you. So you don't get to go to the adults when you're a kid and say, I'm being oppressed, or words to that effect, by something and I'm scared, right? Because you know that you're going to be judged. You know that there's a danger of rejection. That's really disheartening and sad.
Number 4, psychic mediumship actually isn't helping anybody I thought it was. It's actually hurting people because it leads them away from God and will lead them to eternal separation from God. So it's not real help.
I'm so over this already. I'm so over that. All this crap is just dull as dishwater to me, guys. Like, honestly, I'd be more interested if she broke it down a little bit more, despite the fact that I would still probably be in disagreement largely. I will give her something. I'll give her something. And it's something that I've said in previous episodes before, right? When it comes to something like bereavement and dealing with the loss of a loved one, I do think that I have some ambivalence around the measure of psychic mediumship that you rely upon, and whether or not you are using psychic mediumship to contact your loved one as a kind of replacement for bereavement therapy and community support and things like that. I do think that as a tool for handling grief, psychic mediumship to connect with the dead is something that should really be looked at as a spectrum, right? We could say that some experiences are incredibly healthy, and I do know a lot of people that have had what they consider to be healthy experiences with psychic mediums to help them connect with their loved one, and according to their paradigm that feels correct and that feels right and it was a good experience. But I've definitely met people throughout my life, not just throughout my career, throughout my whole life, I've met people for whom it's become addictive and for whom I feel like they're being scammed. And there is a lot of danger around that. There's a lot of high emotion around bereavement, and there's a lot of need, and there's a lot of pain. And I do think that that can be taken advantage of by psychic mediums sometimes. In some cases, I'm not accusing the entire part of that area of witchcraft of being scammers. I'm just saying it's easier to do. There's more heightened emotion. There's less ability for a person who's deeply bereaved to check in with themselves about the money they're spending. If they had one good experience, they're probably going to want many more, when really probably they should be sat in front of a bereavement counsellor, right? I do have opinions on that. I do think that it can cease to be helpful. I think blanketing it all as unhelpful is just as bad as me blanketing all work with the Lord as unhelpful, right? Like, there's a spectrum. There's a spectrum of health, and there's a spectrum of usefulness.
Number 5, the reason why the demons were accurate in readings in regards to reporting information that they've seen and information for the future is because they've seen it. Evil spirits are everywhere, unclean spirits, familiar spirits they've been watching mankind and studying mankind. That's how they give accurate information in readings. And the predictions are because they've been studying us, and we're not difficult.
I love how these kinds of Christians give tarot readers and psychic readers so much power, right? Because if somebody is skeptical, let's say, about a really accurate tarot reading, they might be likely to say something like, well, it's the Barnum effect, right? If you say something that is wide enough and broad enough that anybody could relate to it, but just specific enough that it's going to convince somebody, then that's why the reading was so accurate, right? But when a Christian notices that a reading is really accurate, or they hear that somebody's reading is accurate, they don't say, oh, they're just cold reading you, oh, it's just Barnum effect, oh, it's just whatever, like you're linking into generalizations. No, they go straight to like, they're working with demons, and that's how they know so much about you, because the demons, give them information. I kind of like that. I kind of like that one better. Yeah, that's right. That's right. For anybody who's wondering how we get it so fucking spot on sometimes, it's demons. Okay, I like that. It makes me feel like a bit of a rock star, actually. My darling witches, we have come to the end of this episode, which has been yet another gripping example that we are not the problem. I am now going to go to my altar and light some candles. Not in the name of Jesus, but actually just so that we can send some healing light out to all of our collective brain cells after this very weird journey. Give me your comments down below. I would love to know anything and everything that you think and feel. If you enjoyed this content and you would like more of this kind of thing from me, hit a like on the video. And if you didn't enjoy it, then please pray for my soul, because I think either way, I'm winning. Don't forget to check out my online store, check out my Patreon, and always remember, if you're going to leave the craft, leave quietly and leave us in peace. Much love and blessed be. Mwah.